And so what was the point of their existence? Was it to be a stepping stone in generations to get to us? That's pretty pathetic. I don't have this need for a predetermined purpose for my life or to be imposed on my life. If I want my life to have a purpose, I'll give it one.
All right, that was an excerpt from the Aaron Ross series, if anybody doesn't know. So Steve, I don't want to speak for Aaron, but I want to see if I'm hearing him and I'm hearing you. It almost sounds like, the only meaning is what we give it. And if we're the ones giving it, can we also dismiss it? So this whole...
I think Aaron's right on that, yeah. I do think that we give ourselves our purpose. And, like example, I have a purpose to take care of my daughter, right? I have a purpose to be a good father. I have a purpose to contribute something to society. Now, are these obligations that we have? Are they duties? And from a deontological point of view, that's a different question. And people can argue that till the cows come home. But when it comes to rubber meeting the road, is that what am I going to do in my life that makes my life feel like it's worth living? And of course, family, friends, community, even some kind of, people can get into hedonism or just self-gratification. We all have some kind of things that we like doing. That's fine. I think that we should give ourselves purpose that way. When a theist says, if you don't have a God, you have no purpose, I think they're being very disingenuous. Because if your only purpose is because a God exists, then you really have no purpose other than what he's given you. And if he's given you free agency and free will, then you should be able to come up with your own purpose that's extraneous of his existence. Mm. And so I happen to agree with Aaron on that I think that we do give ourselves our own purpose and our own meaning contextually in how we view it, and that we stand on the shoulder of giants and the people that have been before us. And I think that's a wonderful way of looking at it personally.
And then when our memory is wiped from existence, kind of what he says.
But you know what? The universe is going to be wiped from existence one day. Yeah. The universe is not going to be around forever anyways. Everything has its time. I mean, everything that's ever been is ceasing to exist at one point. All the arts that humanity has ever had at one day will be gone. It's just a matter of scale, of time.
Yeah. So is it purely just a biological urge? All right, I want to get off this, but I want to ask one more question because these things drive me. Man, Steve, why do we even care? Why are we talking? Why do we want ideas to spread? Why do we want to do art? Why do we want to do music? Why do we have these compulsions towards aestheticism? Is that a word? Where we're recognizing, where we're wanting to revel in the beauty that we see around us, and we have this urge and longing to prolong it and to share it with others, and hopefully have that desire where others are valuing it as well. I mean, after all, you guys are producing a show, Steve, over on the NonSequitur show, a great show at that. You guys are interviewing a lot of people. What's up with all the pride? Why do we do this? Why the drive? Is it purely biological? Is it purely an emergent property out of matter that coagulates, comes together, starts assembling itself, and then develops a nervous system? And are we the culmination of all of creation and or however you want to term it, the universe? Or is there something higher to us? And if there is something higher, and I'm throwing it on you here thick, if there is something higher, would it behave like us at all? What do you think, Steve?
It's all of the above, I think. We clearly have biological necessities, and we are driven by base level instinct. Our primate brain back there that has been a base for humanity for a long time. We have primal urges, right? But we have had things that emergence. Consciousness is an emergent property of the brain. The mind is an emergent property of the physical brain, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's about, I don't know, a dozen different ways of looking at the mind and the brain connection. It's one of the most complicated things I've ever tried to understand. How reductionism and non-reduction case and phrenology or whatever the hell, I can't pronounce some of these words. They're very difficult concepts to grasp, but I personally think it's a lot more simplistic. We want what's best for us, and we have empathy, we have compassion, we have love, we have the ability to want to care. And that ability to want to care allows us to say, I you know what, I don't want this to be harmful to me. I'm not going to do it to somebody else, right? When you love somebody in your family, yeah, sure, it's a chemical, right? Okay, but does that take away from the fact that we are feeling that feeling? No, that feeling is there, right? Just because it's produced by a chemical doesn't mean that that feeling is any less quote unquote real than anything else in that's in reality. It is something that we can sense. In that regard, it's real. It may not be something tangential, tactile or anything, right? It's something we can actually touch, but it's a real feeling. That's a little bit different than something along the lines like, people like get on me about color realism, right? Because I can't tell people that colors don't exist, because they don't exist. They are, they exist only in the mind as far as what we perceive to be something that we perceive like to be the color blue. Matter of fact, pink doesn't even have a wavelength associated with it. It's a mixture of red, blue, and purple. But I think feelings, I don't want to get into like the reification fallacy where you're saying that feelings are some kind of thing that exist real in reality, just like colors don't exist real in reality. But those feelings are real to us because we experience them. And I just think that we take all these factors together, and that makes us human. That is why we are human. That's why we have we look at another person and say we should be moral to this person. We should not harm them. The most of us do. Now, there are people that have minds that think differently. That just means that I think their brains aren't functioning as properly as some other people. I think people should be rational. But when people posit there needs to be something more, there needs to be something much more metaphysical. Like you had said, well, what's the next level? Well, I don't know what that would even mean to be the next level. We are just going to be continuing on. We'll get smarter. We get more intelligent. We might get more compassionate, or we might go the opposite way. We might get more savage again. It depends. But I think these things are driven by selective pressures, and in that case, if you want to relate it back to biology, then yes, I think the vast majority of it is biological. Again, another long-winded answer to a pretty kind of straightforward question, but
I'm hanging on all that. Yeah, no, I'm hanging on all your words, man. I really appreciate it. I don't often go down this.
Nobody else does. Okay. I love the live feed, by the way. All my friends are in the live chat. Thank you guys for joining us today. You know what? I got to tell you, I have a wonderful following. People that love watching my shows. I get the greatest compliments and greatest comments. I have no words. They are the best. I mean, they're just great people. They're fun. They're intelligent. They provide the best questions. Who could ask for anything better, you know?
That's awesome. Congratulations to you.
Do you have a following too?
Yeah. I suppose I do, and I also do enjoy seeing some of the regular people like this guy. I'm looking over here. What's up, Heat Shield? Heat Shield's back. I've been seeing Heat Shield for the past, I think.
Wait till your beard gets like this, though.
Steve, I tried. I can't go that far. You know, when I first started doing documentaries, I growed it out a little bit, maybe down to there, and then I'm like, you know what? And it might not come in as thick as yours. I like to keep it a little bit.
Well, no, but the color. I used to wear it short, but
yeah. So when we were on the NonSequitur show, you did bring up colors, and just because I'm personally interested in this, I want to ask you a little bit. I don't know anything about this. What do you mean there's no colors?
Color realism, and that's most of the scientific community, the cognitive scientists think this way. When you say a color exists, you're saying that there's some kind of ontological thing in reality that exists. If I said a cup exists, I can point to the cup. I can tap on it, right? It has molecules. It has atoms. It has some kind of structure. It takes up space, right? Yeah. But the color blue, for example, doesn't exist anywhere in the universe. The color we perceive to be blue is only in our brain, because our brain, for some reason, is an optical illusion. It's literally perceiving something that's not an inherent intrinsic property of that object. Like your short shirt to me is kind of like a burnt orange, right? What do you want to call it? Pumpkin? I don't know.
I would
call
say
it burnt
red.
Orange.
Okay.
But no, it looks more orange to me. But that could be my we have different cameras and things of that nature. But let's say it's red. The shirt itself doesn't have that red property. It's bouncing off photons, right? It's absorbing all other colors other than red, and what we're seeing is these wavelength of photons hitting our eyes. And people can say, well, that's what we're seeing. The photons hitting our retinas, depositing energy, and the brain's translating that. But that doesn't separate what's called the phenomenon from the noumenon. And the noumenon is the thing that is what it is. It's the thing unto itself, as I believe Hume would put it, or was it Kant, one of them. But let's say when you dream and you dream in color, there's no photons involved. Your brain still perceives an image, but that image has no substance in reality. Dreams don't exist in reality. Everybody agrees with that, and they don't balk at it. But when you tell them, okay, well, dreams are in color, but there is no color in existence. It's the same thing. That dream doesn't exist the same way colors don't exist. What you're perceiving is only in the mind. And you can demonstrate this. It's a very good demonstration of a checkerboard that has a green cylinder on it. And if you go look at optical illusions on Wiki, it's a very good demonstration. And this checkerboard is, alternate kind of grayscale. Then you have a green object sitting on it casting a shadow. And if you look at these two squares that are kind of a juxtaposition to each other, A and B, they look like they're different colors. They're definitely different luminosities. You can look at them and go, bam, these are totally different colors. Right. But the problem is, they're not different colors. Yeah. They're exactly the same luminescence. They're exactly the same hue. They're exactly the same everything. If you remove the green thing, you can see that. And even if you don't remove it and you draw a line between the two, you can see they're the same color. That's because color literally is an optical illusion in the brain. And if that's the case, then colors don't exist. They are your brain's interpretation of something.
Okay, so I feel like that's a great crash course right there in color. With the things that our brains perceive, is that evident anywhere else important or relevant in bringing up here? So that's interesting with colors. What else does our minds do that with?
You know what? I think we do that with everything, honestly. Okay. This might be getting a little more deep than we might want to get into, but
go for it.
I believe that we all formulate a belief web. Okay, there's something called coherentism theory of truth, and I don't subscribe to it. I'm a foundationalist, but they're kind of related in some ways. But they're coherent. But the coherentists will say, "Do my facts correspond to other facts that I know?" And we don't ever look at what's called the territory directly, right? We never see naive realism for what it is. We never look at reality and go, "This is what reality is." What we see is filtered through sensory perception. We have to look at it through light. We have to look at it through our eyes. We have to have our brain process it. Everything we do is processed some way. We don't ever see base level reality. And we call that the map. And it'd be very similar if you were walking through the woods, right? And let's say you had a piece of paper in front of you that was not translucent or transparent, but you couldn't see through this piece of paper. And you had a little walking stick, and you're feeling, and you're like, oh, okay, something here, and you mark on your map. Okay, well, it's a little bit higher. Okay, this. Okay, it's probably a tree in this. And you're drawing the map as you are moving through reality. That is your picture of the universe. That is what they call, quote unquote, your worldview. And that's the only instance of you using that term worldview that I actually think is appropriate. I don't like using atheism as a worldview. Christianity is a worldview. I don't really like that terminology. But the map, your theory, it's called the theory of the knowledge of your reality. That is the map. That is your worldview, because you can't take that piece of paper and ever remove it and look at reality, because you always have to be filtering it through some kind of senses. And that goes to that expression, don't confuse the map with the territory. And so when you ask, does this apply to other things? Yes, it applies to everything, including our beliefs, because our beliefs could be wrong. We can actually draw things incorrectly. You can say, hey, you know what, this feels like this, or this is higher than this. And I can go, well, it's more like this. And my map, although it might be similar to yours,